Let's hide our roof by unchecking the roof layer. And now we can put the layers away for a moment. So we're going to work on getting these exterior doors in place. And if we look at the photos, we can kind of confidently say that all of these exterior doors are the same. We're not going to get into an insane amount of detail here, but we are going to make one door as a repeat component that we can use over and over again. So let's go back to our model, and we can just kind of start at any point. I'm going to start with this door here. Using my tape, I'm going to pull a guide out 3 feet, enter. Then I'm going to use this line as a reference to pull a guide back, and I'll just say 5 inches. Let's go ahead and make the door 1 and 0.75, so 1 3/4 thick. Using the rectangle, go ahead and trace along that guide. Double click to select this, make it a group, and G. Double click to open it up again, P for push pull, and push pull this up into place. Okay, now I'm going to open this up again, and I'm just going to offset this. And I'm just going to do this visually because we've done a lot of work already. So let's make this 5. Select this line and just move it straight up, and we're going to move this up an additional 4 inches. Let's move it up an additional 5 inches. So notice I typed 4, enter, and I was still able to type 5, enter afterwards because I hadn't done anything else yet. All right, now we can push pull this away, click. Now I'm going to select, and that's done. So this is part 1. Now I need to put some glass in it. So a rectangle from point to point. Double click on that, make that a group, and go ahead and move that in slightly. Let's just say 0.5. Now I'm going to find my center line. I'm just going to graphically put a push bar in here. I'm not going to get really that invested in the detail of this. So I'm going to drag this up 36 inches. Let's do that again. 36, enter. So I've got a little line there. And I'm just going to eyeball along the center of that a rectangle. Double click and make that a group. Open that up, push pull. Okay, that's basic. We're not worried about materials yet. We're going to get into that soon enough. So this is basically my door. I've got the frame, I've got the push bar, and I've got the glass on the inside. The last thing I want to do, because eventually I want to see this model in plan, so I want to give myself a little swing. I want to see what this looks like when I look at this in plan. I want to see the door swing. That's why I love this tool. There's these new pie tools and these new arc tools that are great for this. So I'm gonna select my pie tool, and I'm going to start from this corner along the blue axis, and I'm going to click again to this point, and I'm now able to move my mouse and type in 45. I personally like to see door swings at 45. It's totally a personal preference. Some people like 90, so you can decide whether you want to go all the way to the full 90 or the 45. Double click on that, make that a group, and double click on it to open it up. I'm going to delete this line on the bottom and this face so that all I have is the line and the arc that shows the swing. With this selected, holding shift, I'm now going to select the glass, the push bar, and the frame, and I'm going to group it. Okay, so this door is what I'm going to use to repeat throughout the exterior space here. I've got a set of double doors here, and then I've got 2 more sets, and then I've got 1 set of single doors. So this door is going to repeat in a bunch of different applications, not a bunch, a few. That means I want to right-click and make it into a component so that whenever I edit it, it edits all of them, including if I open it up and start adding materials to it. So now that it's a component, I can copy it right next to itself. Now this isn't going to be as obvious if I do it from this side, so I'm going to come out to this outside and we're going to try something new. We're going to try scaling in place to mirror in place. This is instead of right-clicking and doing flip along red, green, or blue. So we talked about that in the first class. If you could flip along the red, that flips it into place. I'm just going to undo that. If you flip along the green, it's going to flip it along the green axis like this. And if you flip it along the blue, it's going to flip it upside down. That's really, really helpful to know, but I have learned that the more often I use SketchUp, I almost always choose red when I'm supposed to be choosing green, or green when I'm supposed to be choosing red. I can never keep up. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this in place and mirror it in place. So I'm going to go to my scale tool, and that's going to give me these classic scale points. I can either scale it from corner to corner, I can scale it from front to back, which is squishing it in on itself, or I can scale it from side to side, or I can scale it using these kind of weird side ones, which does both, and it scales in two different directions, which I absolutely never use. I'm going to scale from side to side, but I'm going to hit down on this point. I'm going to hit down on my Control button if I'm on a PC, or Alt Option if I'm on a Mac. This is basically the exact same button you hit down if you're making a copy. And what this does is this scales it in place on top of itself, or through itself. So I'm basically dragging it. Let's go ahead and try that again. Escape. Start that once. I'm basically dragging it through itself and scaling to the other side. So the movement I'm doing with my mouse is I'm pulling through till I touch the opposite point. Click. So now I have a nice good set of double doors. Before I copy these double doors over to this side, let's bring a door over to this one here. So starting with this point, I'm going to go right into the inner point of this door. And I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to drag that over to this point and click. I shouldn't say drag, because drag makes it seem like I'm holding down on the left click. So just keep in mind, when I say drag, I basically just mean move. Okay, now I'm going to start from this point with my rotate tool. And I'm going to click once on that line, click once on this point, and rotate it into place. Click again. Then I'll move it back 5 inches. Okay, great. So that door's now in place. With my select tool, I'll grab both of these doors by clicking once on each, and I'm going to copy from this point to this point. And because we did this mathematically kind of in a nice, correct, clean way, I should be able to do ×2, enter, and they should pop cleanly into place, which they do. Great. Okay, so our exterior doors are now in place.